Welcome back to LearnPianoLive.com. Tonight we are covering Adele. My name is Jamin. This is Nano.
Hey guys.
Really?
I don't know. What do you want me to say? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. How are you?
Me?
Yes.
You know how I am. We've been talking for 5 minutes.
No, we haven't.
Like 3 minutes. You know, all right. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, Nano. Which, by the way, we just realized before the broadcast was actually his nickname, and I've been bugging him to get a nickname, and that is his nickname.
That is my nickname.
All right.
My real name is Nathaniel Gregory McCutcheon.
Gregory. I didn't know. Learn
you
a
can
little
call me
bit more
Gregory
about
if you want.
Gregory?
Gregory, yeah.
Wow. That sounds really sophisticated, though.
Kind of
so
is. I don't know.
You need to like be sipping some tea or something as moderator. Anyway. All right, so tonight we are covering Adele. We're actually talking about just covers in general, but we're going to focus on some Adele songs since she seems to be really popular right now. So let's jump into it. This is the intermediate lesson, so I'm assuming that you already know something about chords and scales and stuff like that and keys. I have given you in your PDF, though, I've given you some chords for progressions to Adele's songs, and then I gave you all of the notes for all of the chords because I know as an intermediate player, while you're very familiar with some chords, especially in the key of C and probably D and maybe F and G and maybe even B flat, once we start getting into like G flat and D flat and A flat and maybe the key of B, then it's kind of easy to get lost in there. So anyway, if you haven't already practiced through all of your scales and that's not already heavy on your mind, like I need to do that, you need to do it. Let it be heavy on your mind from now on. You need to get familiar with all the keys because you're going to run into them as you become more and more advanced. And what you don't want is to be able to play in the key of C and be really advanced and play all kinds of cool stuff and then have your vocalist go, yeah, that's a little bit low for me. Can we raise that a key or two? And then have her want to be like an E flat and you just showed off and everybody thinks you're great and now you're in the key of E flat and like trying to keep up and hitting all the wrong notes and stuff. You want to be versatile enough to switch keys. So unfortunately we don't have capos or anything like guitarists do. We can't just change keys that easily. So become familiar with the keys. There's your lecture for the night. Let's get on to some fun stuff. The first thing that we're going to do talking about tonight is when you're creating a cover, the first thing you can do is change octaves. That's going to be really, really weighty. Now, it should be kind of obvious that this stuff up here is like really light, frilly stuff, and then this stuff down here is going to be really heavy stuff. But taking just the same song and moving it around in different octaves is going to be your first big tool in creating a cover and giving some texture to the different parts of the songs. So let's listen to Set Fire to the Rain. So the chords here are, as it says in your PDF, you've got D minor, F, C, and then G minor. Then D minor, F, C, G minor. So though you hopefully already know how to play those chords. And D minor, F, C, G minor, those are the same voicings she's using there, by the way. It's root position, and then the F is in second inversion. The C is in root position, and then the G minor is in second inversion. And she's got this this pattern. It's something Adele does a lot, is just takes her chords and like splits them up. So a very Adele-ish thing to do with a D minor would be like, or. In this one here, let me see if you can figure out what the pattern is. I'll tell you, these are the three notes that she's using, the D, the F, and the A for that D minor. See if you can figure out what her pattern is. And that was where she switched the chord right there. So again, one more time. So hopefully you're hearing. So 5, 1, 3, 1, 5, 1, 3. And then she starts on the next chord. So she's got, and then switch chords. She's got a little, that thing at the end, and then she goes to the C chord. And then the G minor is right here. So, then just repeats the whole thing again. Anyway, so there's a little Adeleism there for you, just taking the chord and splitting it up. You'll see when we do our other songs too by Adele, she's very fond of taking those chords and just breaking them up into really simple repeating patterns like that. Anyway, so we're just going to take that pattern and we're going to switch octaves. We're going to start it off really simple. We're going to build it into something big. We're going to come down here for the really big part, then we're just going to come back up here. We're not even really covering the song, we're just taking this one little lick and moving it through, and you can hear how it kind of develops and becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then as we move it toward the end, it's going to sound probably, hopefully, like an actual cover of the song, even though we haven't played one note of melody. So we'd start off with something simple like... And then we can move it down. And then move it down again. And then move it back up for the end. The end. So just taking that one lick and moving it from the really high down to the really low and then back up. I didn't play any new notes. I did double up on my octaves down here a little bit on the really big parts so we could get some lower notes and not have it come out. Actually, but now that I play it like that, it sounds kind of cool. But anyway, to not get it too muddy down there, you know, doubling up on the octaves down here and still playing it in this range. But you can hear how like just switching octaves is a huge part. So I would recommend for right now, as you're covering songs, start everything high, move it down to the medium, down to the low, back up to the end for little parts, just so you can get really familiar with how that sounds. The same song, switching octaves makes it feel like an entirely new song. The next thing we're going to do is arpeggiating the left hand. We covered this a little bit last week. This is probably the most popular thing to do when covering songs on YouTube. And this is where those chord voicings in the PDF really come in handy. So if you're going to do, for example, a C major chord, you already know that's those notes right there. To arpeggiate this, we're actually going to take this note right here, this 3, we're going to put that on top. And that's going to be our voicing, but we're going to do it in the left hand. So we're going to do it down here. And we can include any of the notes from the chord. So these are the ones you're going to focus on, the 1, the 5, and the 3. Although this 1 and this 3 could also be included. So, and this is kind of what Adele would do if she was going to play the melody along with her left hand. Now, because she sings, she doesn't have to include any melody in her right hand because her voice is doing it. So she can just do that arpeggiation in her right hand and then sing over top of it. But we don't have that luxury, so unless you're a singer, then I guess you could do that. But practice this anyway because you're going to be playing some solo stuff for sure. Even if it's not a solo gig, I did this Christmas gospel thing once, and I was playing on the B3 organ, and I'm not a B3 organ player, but I was playing the B3 along with the band and stuff, and so I get up there, you know, do a sound check ahead of time, like an hour ahead of time, and then about 45 minutes before the performance, the director comes up to me. He's like, "I really like what you're doing on the organ, man." I'm like, "Thanks," you know, and he's like, "It really sounds great. I love your solos." I'm like, "Thanks." And he goes, "I'd really like for the next 45 minutes for you to just like play some stuff, you know, that's kind of Christmassy to get everybody in the mood." And I'm sitting on this instrument that I don't really know how to play. I've just been playing it like a piano, and he's asking me to solo on this thing for 45 minutes. So I got to come up with 45 minutes of material on an instrument I don't know how to play. And that's just the kind of stuff that happens. So even if you're playing in a band or whatever, that doesn't mean you want to just relax and you know, only play your chords in your right hand. You want to get that left hand up because someone's going to come up to you at some point and say, "Hey, why don't you play 45 minutes of solo work?" And then you can't just be playing your block chords. So anyway, there's your story for the evening. So anyway, back to the left hand arpeggiation things. So if we played these chords that we were just playing, the D minor, the F, the C, and then the G minor as arpeggiated chords, we would have something like this, and then F, C, and then G minor. If we play along with her, it sounds like D minor to the F, to the C, the G minor, D minor. And so as you can hear, like that's a pretty big full sound already, and then I've got my entire right hand free to play, you know. And do whatever I want in the right hand, play melodies and stuff like, or harmonies and stuff like that. So anyway, if you go on YouTube and watch a cover of any random song, I guarantee you the first 9, 10, 12 videos are going to be this exact same thing with some kind of melody or chord over top of it. Only in most cases, those guys are only going to be playing the 1, the 5, and the 1. They're not going to actually get that 3 in there. I would recommend practicing with the 3, but then if you're going to do, you know, just know that when you go to transcribe someone else like Adele or someone off of YouTube, they're not going to include the 3 there. They're just going to go 1, 5, 1 with most of their chords. So you'll want to have that in your repertoire, but that's way easier to do than including that 3. So practice with the 3, and then, you know, make sure that you can also do just the 1. Last thing we want to talk about in covering songs is chording the right hand. So we've got the chords that we already covered over here, and switching octaves and stuff with our chords, with a bass line or arpeggiating this. We eventually want to include both of those. So we don't want our right hand to be playing so what we're going to do is whatever chord we're on, we're going to fill in as much of that chord as we can down below the melody. So we want the melody to be the highest note, which means you're usually going to be playing it with your pinky. And then down below that, you want to include whatever notes of that chord you can. So if it's a D minor, we're playing this instead of... We want to include all of the D minor that we can down underneath that. So we've got this note, this note, this note, and then we can play right there, and that would be... And at that point we switch to the F, and then... And that's going to take a lot more time to practice on a song to work it so that not only do you have the chords down the left hand and you figured out the melody, but then also fitting in as much of that chord as possible. But it's really going to help out, especially once you get down in these big parts. In the tiny little parts where you're playing up here, you want just one note. Don't play the whole chord when you're up here. That's not going to sound nearly as fragile and brittle as... That's going to be a lot more appropriate. But once you get down in here, if you only got one note, it's just going to be missing a whole lot, and you're going to want to add in more chords, and so you're going to end up just playing harder and more on the left hand, and it's just going to sound kind of cheesy because you don't really have the guts to fill in the notes to make the big sound that you want. So what you're going to do there is fill in as much of the chord as you possibly can underneath. I do have, you know what, since we're running late already, go ahead and send your questions in now to Nano. And the way you're going to do that is underneath the video right here is a little place where you can put your name and question and then click submit, and we will have questions in just a second. I do have a video for you. And you know what? I think I'm going to just, I'm going to put a link up to this video. If you go to LearnPianoLive.com and go to the live lesson, I'll put a link to the video underneath because we're running crazy short on time right now. Don't forget that the homework for this week, or for this month, sorry, is to reharmonize any song. That means include new chords. Tomorrow night we're going to be talking more about reharmonizing and stuff in the advanced lesson. You're going to take any song, you're going to cover it, and you're going to change one or two of the chords. You're going to include the melody. And tonight there's no MP3, so normally right now I would show you how to play the MP3 along with your lesson, but there's no MP3 because we're doing Adele stuff, and for me to sell you her music would kind of be illegal. So anyway, there's no MP3, and if you got questions about the PDF or the lesson, let's get to those right now. Nano, yes. Do we have any lessons? Do we have any lessons so far? Any questions so far?
Yeah, we have. I think we have like 3 questions. Yeah. Adam wants to know: are these things specific to Adele? And I think he means like what you just taught. Are they specific to just Adele, or?
Oh, well, definitely the stuff about the arpeggiations and stuff where she's like going like that. You're gonna find that a lot in her music. In fact, we only hit Set Fire to Rain. Let's check out a couple of the others so I can show you what I'm talking about. So this thing right here. This one is. So in that one, she's got, she's taken out one of the notes, but it's still the same concept. She's taking the chord and then just messing with the voicing on it. This is the 1-5-1 thing that we talked about. So there's a. So it's the 1-5-1 that we were talking about. And then Someone Like You, if we go to that one. This is just a straight arpeggiation of, and then we switch. So it's pretty much the exact same thing as the other one that we were playing. And then switch chords. Only in this one, she's got just the A chord. The C sharp minor is a C sharp minor over G sharp, by the way. And then switches to the C sharp minor over G sharp, and then switches to F sharp minor, and then D. So that's arpeggiated. Turning tables, you're going to run into the same thing. It's the chord with a little bit of arpeggiation and a little extra note thrown in there. We got a second here. We said we got 3 questions so far?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's check this out. So you can already hear in there, it's the same chords, it's just she's got a couple extra notes that she throws in after she arpeggiates to fancy it up and move on to the next chord and stuff like that. So yeah, that stuff is definitely specific to Adele. However, this thing, that stuff, that's all over the place. And this 1-5-1 thing, when you start transcribing left hands of piano parts, you'll be amazed how much that shows up in pop music these days. So, question number 2?
Yes, this is from Jonathan, and he wants to know if you have any kids.
Any students?
I think kids, like children.
If I have any children of my own?
Yes.
Yes, I have 3 children. They are ages 3, 2, and 1, and I have one on the way, and it's awesome. If that was your question, but I have to assume that it wasn't. But I don't know. Yes.
All right, and Kaylee wants to know, how many notes should I play in the right hand?
How many notes should you play in the right hand?
Yeah.
If you're up top, you're going to just play 1, like we talked about. Down here, you're going to fill in more, but that's not always the case either. You can play really simple stuff down here. You're just going to, I would say, fewer is usually better, unless you feel like you need more. If you're missing something in the sound, you want to add more notes in. But in general, piano players play as many notes as they possibly can all the time, which just makes everything terrible because it means you're not using any of the texture that you could have by decreasing the number of notes. So if you've got 0 to 100% of your playing ability, you don't want to be playing at 100% all the time. You have nowhere to go. So you got to give yourself room to have this thing be the climax of the song, which might mean that, if you can only play 2 notes at a time, it means you're going to stick with 1 note for verse 1, chorus 1, verse 2, chorus 3, and then in chorus 4, bust out your second note. and use that thing as the climax, and then go back to one note for your taper off at the end. So I would just say, depending on where the climax of the song is, make sure that's the climax of your playing and too. But like I said, everyone, and it's not just pianists too either. It's everybody: guitarists, drummers, everybody, bass players. Everybody wants to play everything they know on every single song every single time. And you'll be amazed when you start transcribing some really great piano players how little they play often. He's like, hey, this is really easy. I know how to do this. But they're more concerned about where they're putting their notes. For example, on this tenths thing, they're using that instead of that makes a huge difference. If you've got, that thing, and then, playing all the notes you possibly could. Maybe I should play a song I know. But that versus, just a simple like this down here. This is going to be way more powerful in my opinion. And that's way fewer notes. That's like 5 fewer notes than what I was playing a second ago. So use them appropriately is more important than how many should I be always playing. I think that answered the question. Maybe too much.
Yeah, I think it answered it. So.
Here's my yes man nano. All right, so any other questions?
No, we're good for tonight, man.
All right, cool. Well then, next week we're doing a jazzing up a cover. So we're going to cover the same material, only we're going to talk about how to add some extra notes, some extensions and stuff that are going to make the song sound a little bit jazzier if you want to give it a different twist. For example, if you wanted to play instead of, we could add in and then maybe, yeah, I obviously haven't prepared that one yet, but you get the idea that, we're adding in extra notes to make it sound kind of jazzier. I'll get you something better than that example by next week. And then if you like what you're hearing here, then make sure you tell a friend, because we rely on word of mouth. If you don't like what you're hearing here, or you have a question that didn't get answered tonight or whatever, then please fill out the survey. Even if you're watching in the archives, fill out the survey and ask your questions there, and I'll do whatever I can to get you the answers to your questions, because we're just here to serve you. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.